All right, good morning. It is 10 a.m. and I start on time around here. All right, so we're going to start off with this, a little rhythm thing, and breathe, stretch, relax, breathe, think about your intention for today. But I want us to get right into some rhythm. My only encouragement would be take it easy as far as your energy. Be really loose or light, I should say, with your physical energy. Let's just start with getting right, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. If you can feel that, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, down, up, down, up. For violins, it'll be easier at the tip of the bow. Obviously, Bayard, he's got his mandolin, so it's the same thing. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Let's see if we can just get this ghosting going. So it's just down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Muting the strings. And I like to start out just play 4, mute 4. So it sounds like this. Mute, play, mute, play, mute, play, mute. Try to relax your body while you do it. Minimal energy physically. Stay really relaxed. Now watch this. Watch this. So I'll mute. So it's up, down, up. 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 You can double it up when you're ready. So try this variation. Down, down, up. Down, down, up. Let's try this one. Down, down, up, up. Down, down, up, up. Down, down, up, up. Play 2, goes 2 like this. Bayard's like, I got this all day. watch this. So down, down, up, up, up. Down, down, up, up, up. Un, dos, tres. Down, down, up, up, up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Down, down, up, up, up. Down, down, up, up, up. Cool. We're going to come back to that a little bit later because when we work on this choro, which is a Brazilian type of tune that precedes the samba and the bossa nova. But we'll stay on this groove just for a second, and I want you to just know what the chords are. So we have a G major. So what you can do is, I want to look at this relationship between the tonic, the 1 chord, and the 5 chord, the dominant. So that's G major, triad, goes to a D7. And a lot of times we think, oh, I can play that. But no, we can't. We're never done learning major triad. We're never done learning a D7, right? Take a second and just ground in and find what is G major triad. Find it for yourself. If you're more advanced, you can find the double stops. Just find that G major triad. Because you're also warming up, so it's fine. You can be checking out your intonation or your shifting if you want, but the main purpose is just kind of finding that triad. And then the same thing with your D7 chord. So that looks like this. It's the note D, F sharp, A, and C. All the inversions of D7, all the inversions of G major. If it helps you to do so, then you can use the extended range scale worksheet, which is a visual tool. Then you can be staring at those notes. G major, D7. And if you want to be advanced about it, then you're going to add a 6 to the G major chord. Add a 6. So you can ground in on either one of those 2 chords because now we're going to put them together. And if you're fancy, you can do it all as double stops. There is no amount of challenge that you cannot find within this pair of 2 chords, G major to D7. Have fun with it. 2, ready, go. Your choice if you want to incorporate the bow. Or if you'd rather just slur it out, that's fine too. Phrases, they feel like they want to start from the off beats, right? Stay light. Kathy knew I was looking at her when I said that. So if you're super fancy, you can voice lead those two triads, right? So it's like G. Maybe you can play after me. This is a G chord starting on B. And if that's easy for you, then double stop it, okay? Then this is D chord starting on A. G chord. D7. Play after me. G. D7. All I did was I voice led between a G major and a D7. I'll go up. I'm going to add a 6 to the G major chord. So it's going to be a G major 6, which is the same as an E minor 7. Now I'm going to add a flat 9 to the D7. So we have G major 6 going to fully diminished F sharp, basically. G major 6, F sharp diminished. G major 6, F sharp diminished. G major 6, F sharp diminished. G major 6. F sharp diminished. G major 6. Nice. So what you actually find out, there's this really cool jazz scale that's called the major bebop scale, and it sounds like this. I'm going to teach it to you. So do that. It's the G major scale plus the sharp 5. Now we're going to play it from every degree, but only from the root, 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Those are the chord tones, right? So now this is the same 8 notes, but we start on B. And if you string it together, it's an 8-note scale, so it gives you something that you can't do with the major scale, because with the major scale, there's 7 notes, so it's non-symmetrical. Because 7 notes doesn't fit into 8 eighth notes in the bar. You see what I mean? But 8 notes does. And that means that you can move in and out of that scale. Which is kind of cool. So later on, we'll come back to it, but just have a little fun with the progression. If you want to work on voice leading like that, where you're going between these two triads, you can do that. But you can also just play out of the G major scale, and you can play patterns out of the G major scale. Okay. 1, 2, you got it. Record yourself. Awesome. Let's do something else. Can you hear that okay? So this is just a B minor 11 chord. Yeah, that's basically all it is. B minor. So we're in the key of D major, 2 sharps. And this is just a little more relaxed in case you want to change up the things you're working on in case you want to work more on like long bows and check out your intonation, work on your shifting, whatever. Again, these are all just suggestions because the point of this is that you can integrate your practice and focus on the things that are important to you. Maybe you're working on rhythm. Maybe you're working on articulation. Maybe you're working on relaxing your shoulder. So there you go. Key of D major, ready, go. I'll just show you a couple ideas you could do. For some reason, I was thinking about this pattern. So this is in D major, but I might play. This is a pattern out of the scale. So. That pattern right there, you could play it with a different bowing every time. You could play it in a different fingering every time, or like a different position. Like the same pattern you could play in first position, second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh position. You could play it harmonized by double stops, for example. When I was first thinking about it, though, I was thinking I would do something even simpler and just play like long notes like. Now, if you're already warmed up and you don't want to do either of those things, patterns or just like really long bows, then you could take more of an improvisational approach and think about your phrasing and record yourself. Your call. 2, you got it. just for 1 second, I'm going to invite you to do something. So I'm going to turn this loop back on for like 3 to 5 minutes. But what I want to invite you to do, if you're up for it, is you just mute me and listen back to your recording from the last 60 seconds. A recording of yourself. Listen back to a recording of yourself and just see like what you notice about maybe it's your rhythm or your intonation or your sound or your articulation or your phrasing. And then just decide, oh, that one thing that I noticed, now that I'm armed with that perspective, with that information, with that feedback, I'm going to try to see if I can address it now. Record yourself for another minute and then rinse and repeat. Do the same thing. Notice like, oh, did I address my intonation thing? Did I make sure you're specific though? Don't be like, oh, I sound like crap. Whatever it is. Don't be judgmental and generalizing and vague and stuff like that. Be really specific. Listen for one specific thing and notice that one thing and then say, okay, can I address that? Like for me, a lot of times I play everything flat. So if I listen back, I instantly notice like, oh yeah, I'm playing flat again. I'm like, let me really pay attention to seeing just not playing flat, you know? Or maybe you'll notice that like you're rushing certain rhythms or you're dragging on certain rhythms and be like, let me see if I can keep my rhythm more steady. So that's an invitation. You can mute me and you can listen back. I'm going to let this run for the next 3 to 5 minutes. And you can do that a couple times. So you play, you record yourself, you mute everything, you listen back, say, oh, let me try it again. 2, you got it. Awesome. We're going to do a different loop, but it'll be easy again. But maybe we'll change our focus to more of the creative aspect. Before we do, I just want to reflect on the idea of the simple complexity of changing, the simple complexity of enacting change in how we are. So one of the daily habits that I've been trying to work on in the last week or two is about deep listening, active listening. And it's supposed to help you empathize deeper with people if you practice listening harder. And there's specific things about it. So the exercise that I'm doing is like that I'm supposed to stop myself from interrupting people when they're talking and stop myself from trying to give a solution to their problem if they're expressing a problem. You know, like my wife's like, I had a bad day. And I'm like, well, why didn't you do this? Or how about you do this? You know, or something like, it's because sometimes people don't want you to give them a solution. They just want to express themselves. Not that my wife. And so I'm supposed to practice changing how I interact with people in conversations. And if you think about it, it's so simple, right? That would be simple to do. But it's also very hard to change the way we always are. Right? And so you have to create a new habit and you have to be very intentional about it. And I'm bringing this back to this because I've heard we all have those things. Like I said, like I tend to play flat. Why do I play flat? Because I'm not listening for it. I'm not being intentional about it. But if I record myself and I listen back, I instantly hear, oh, I'm flat. And maybe for you, it's like that your down bow always feels different than your up bow. A lot of people have that. Their down bow feels different than their up bow. And because we're basically like a prisoner of our bow, but we're just letting our body do the thing. We're not letting the music dictate. We're not allowing our awareness to supersede and our intention to supersede what the bow's doing. But if you record yourself and you listen back and you notice, oh, my up bow sounds completely different than my down bow. Let me work on that. You could work on that. You could fix it. But it's very simple, but it's also very hard. So just reflecting on that like you actually have the opportunity to do it, but it's not easy because we live in a state of inertia. Inertia constantly pushes us to just be in the same thing, the easiest thing, and not making change. But if you want to make change, you can change a tiny thing by focusing on it every day and being intentional about it. It's easy, but it's really hard. Okay, so we're going to do that again with a different example, this loop right here. One second. So if in the last exercise, I was encouraging you to notice things and get feedback about your execution, like your rhythm, your intonation, your articulation. This time, I want you to get feedback about your composition. So the nature of your ideas themselves, not focusing on, is it in tune? Is it in rhythm? How did I play it? But thinking, what is the idea itself? The idea is a platonic form, right? The idea exists. The compositional idea exists independently of one execution of the idea. So if you have an idea which is 3 quarter notes, then you could perform that idea, but you could perform it all kinds of ways. But I just want you to focus on the ideas. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because everybody, most of us, myself included, we just do the same things all the time. So if you want to do something different, then do something different. And this is a chance to do that. So we've talked about different elements and structures you can bring to your playing, which could be like how many notes are in each phrase? What direction does the phrase go? What beat does the phrase start on? How dense is your playing? What are the articulations of the notes? What are the techniques you're using? Are you playing across the strings? Are you using double stops? Are you playing pizzicato? So anyway, let's listen to this loop. It's in the key of C major, but it's just pedaling over a G dominant 7 chord. If you want a fancy approach to it, you can use this pentatonic scale, which I think, actually, Subin, you'll have to tell me if this is right or not. But this is a bluegrass scale, but I've also heard people in India use this scale. So. Of course, they get all that fancy stuff going, right? I'll tell you that scale real quick. So it's, 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. So if you want to make a challenge for yourself, you can put that in the extended range scales worksheet. 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. I'll write it in the chat. So. But you don't have to use that. You can just play G Mixolydian, which is just C major. 1, 2, you got it. another thing you can do, and this will prompt a little bit of structure, but you can take each note in that 5-note scale that I wrote in the chat or in the 7-note major scale, and you can use it as a destination. We did this last time. But also when you use that note as a destination, you could also think changing the shape of each phrase. So for example, I'll start with the pentatonic. I'll use each of these notes, G, B, C, D, F, as a destination of each phrase. So I'll start with G. And then I'll use B. Then B. C, I mean. So I'm starting to also think about how can I change the shape of each phrase, but using that different destination tone. Just an idea. 2, ready, go. Cool. One more little idea. And this is the idea about subtracting things. During this course, I made a decision that I was going to not drink alcohol at all, just until today. But now that I have a cold, I probably won't drink alcohol today either. But because I wanted to have the ultimate energy and focus to deliver this course, clear-eyed. And not that I'm a huge drinker. A lot of times I'll have a nightcap before I go to bed. And I was like, I'm going to go drive for 2 weeks while I deliver these 5 classes. Because, it's a lot. It's 400 people are registered. And I want to give a good experience. And I was like, this is something. So, but all I did was subtract something. I didn't add something. I subtracted alcohol. It didn't take more time. But it did take a lot of discipline, a lot of mental energy. And so I want you to think, how can you subtract something from your playing that you don't need. It's like taking a habit away. And it's also, these tend to be like, I would say, I don't know, can I say crutch? Like a crutch, right? I was just thinking for a second, a lot of you may not identify as quote unquote experts, but maybe you should. Like, you've been doing this for a long time. And so instead of thinking, I need to learn more harmony, I need to learn more speed, I need to learn more vibratos, I need to learn more techniques, maybe you could focus on, it's like when we're older people, we're more set in our ways. So it's about like, how can I be intentional about one change, one tiny change that feels easy, but it's actually just hard. It's hard to make. And so there's an analogy that I use here, and don't take it the wrong way, because I've never worn makeup, so I don't even know what is behind like the idea of wearing makeup, for, I guess, women often wear makeup. But I use the analogy, which is to remove the makeup from our playing. Like I said, don't read into it too far. But so a lot of times when I'll play, I'll try to think, I'm taking out all the slides, I'm taking out all of the extra effects and mannerisms and habits that have added to my playing, whether consciously or unconsciously. And I think a lot of times this happens when we're students of a new thing. If you're like, I'm going to get into bluegrass, and you're like, I need to play lots of slides because I need to sound bluegrassy, and that's slides. Or I'm going to get into jazz, so I'm going to do this like shaky vibrato thing that I heard Stefan Grappelli do one time. And that's going to signify to everybody that like, now I'm into jazz, right? But then it becomes like this kind of crutch in our playing. It was this signifying thing, but then it just becomes this remnant, this artifice, and this thing that so if I play and I try to remove everything, I'm trying to make it feel like it's generated by a computer, like it's a sine wave. And when you hear me talk about it, you probably realize that's a big part of how I sound. And it's from studying saxophone players or guitar players or piano players and being like, what is it that makes their articulation feels like that, or feels like this, or feels like that? So you could try that if you want. You could be like, I'm going to eliminate the slides from my playing. I'm going to eliminate all these things that I do to try to signify expression, the extra vibrato, the really like big bow arm, and the swells, or like any of those things. You could just see what it feels like. Okay, I'll shut up. 2, you got it. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is a tune, the Choro, which is called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Brejeiro. But I want to do the breakout room thing for like just 5 minutes. So I'm going to try it differently this time. You can choose your room. So I guess you can be in a room with, 2 people or 3 people if you want. And I'm basing this on the Taekwondo classes that my son used to do and that I used to go with. And they would just say basically like, hey, meet the other person in the breakup room and tell them something about yourself and what you're working on and what's your goal, and tell them where you live, like what you like to do. Well, we got people here, Catherine, Petra, Christine. Tell us about yourself, Catherine. Who are you? What's your goal?
Hi. Well, I'm from England, and I don't know, just trying to print something at the moment. Yeah, my goal is just to play better, really. Always trying to, sort of do that. But the thing is, I don't play an ordinary instrument, if you know what I mean. I play the viola da gamba, so it's a lot of sort of Baroque kind of stuff, but 415. But I do have a Renaissance viol tuned at 440, so I can use today. So I'm in Lowestoft, on the edge of the world, by the sea. It's dark.
Where's that?
It's in England. It's the furthest easterly point. The sun's set. It's getting dark. And so it's nice to be online chatting, basically.
Nice.
You're in New York, right?
Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, Asheville. Yes, I've been there. I've been to Penland School of Craft, Art and Craft.
Nice.
Up the mountain. Yeah. Great.
Petra or Christine, what do you want to share? Anything or?
Hi, can you hear me? Yes, I've just joined the meeting because today I'm really sick. I have a flu, and I really tried my best to get out of bed and at least participate in a part of it because it's the last one and I really like these classes. So I can't say a lot about today, but the other, well, I'm playing, I'm recording, and I listen back, and I'm still not really satisfied. There are some things I think, okay, this is getting better, but the last time when we had this rhythmical thing, I thought I'm not in the rhythm. I do something else. I can't really get into it. That was the last time. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep trying.
When you listen back, is there any like specific things that you've been focused on, or?
I think my bowing is not precise enough, and as always, I try to do so many fancy things. I just can't stop myself from trying to do it. And I think, oh, okay, these regular triplets or things is not enough, And I think I have to concentrate on these triplets to get them right, but it's difficult. That's my explanation and my idea of what I'm going to do, maybe.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Christine, how did your gig go?
Yeah, I had a really cool show the other night. Everyone was very pleased with it. I did a cabaret show here in New York at a dinner club. And it was a show about my uncle's music, Albert Haig. And my family came. I had 65 people there. So I was primarily a dancer, singer, cabaret performer, and I incorporate, as an actress, and I incorporate the violin. Now, these classes are great for me, especially because, when we do the opening exercises, sometimes it's like a coordination thing, for me to, so I say, wow, because I'm used to, as long as I'm doing, what I know I'm doing, that's one thing. But then when you say do an up, up, down, and mute, I'm like going, oh my God. That really now, I had a thing happen to me. I had a dress rehearsal I was really great with. My violin, I was in tune. I was like, okay, this is happening. Get up the next morning, the day of the show, no A string, popped overnight. And I couldn't get the string back on because I can't see very well now. And and I can't change the string myself. So I'm going, oh my God. And my sister was here and she was trying to help me because she also knows violin, and we couldn't get it together. So I had to go back to my Chinese violin. I call him Junior. And, I hadn't used that violin in a really long time. So that's the violin. In fact, I was thinking, I don't like to impose on you because I know you have so many students and everything. But my sister, with her phone, she was taking some clips and she just sent me this morning some Google clips of the show. So I thought, well, I didn't want to impose on you, Chris, but I thought maybe you'd be curious because you helped me with the two of the violin things. And of course I see, oh God, my shoulder's up. Oh God, you know what I mean? I'm looking at the video this morning, right before class, and I'm going, well, it's pretty in tune and everything considering, but you might be interested because you can see a little more of what I do. It's not like the whole number, but there's a whole song and dance cane number, a funny song. And then there's, and I have a very good band. Very good musicians. So, maybe I could send it to you. You'll see a little more about me, a little more of what I do, more it's a mix of musical theater, but I take this jazz ensemble class. So now that I'm done with my show, I have to focus on the jazz recital. So these classes are wonderful though, because even though you go faster than I can keep up most of the time, like when you do your patterns, but still, I don't get all of it, but I get some of it.
Cool.
So well, yeah, that's where I
think it'd be great if you wanted to share some of those clips in the Facebook group. That's very cool.
Oh,
congratulations.
Well, actually, I don't know if you see me on Facebook because I'm in the Facebook group, but if we're not friends on Facebook,
it doesn't matter. I mean, we can be, but either way. But it's the group is Creative Strings Workshop Online. So you can post in that group. I'm gonna close the breakout rooms. I don't know what's gonna happen. So
anyway, nice to meet you guys. I hope you feel better, Petra. All right. I'm in New York, by the way. I don't know if I said that.
Okay, so the rooms are closing, and it's like they're gonna close in 41 seconds. So I'll get it's good. All right. See what I got here. Okay, pasting the chart in the chat again for the tune we're about to do. And I'm going to mute everybody. Is there anything, just like maybe for 1 or 2 minutes, anything anybody wants to ask about or comment about? Yeah, just open. You can just blurt.
I would like to ask a question because I have to leave soon. And a question that I had last day. When you play a solo with so fast, so many notes, very fast, how do you think? What do you think? The chords, the notes, or just let the fingers do whatever they want?
I think many things, but one thing you could try is you could try to hear your phrase before you play it. For example, my voice is shot. Right? So you could practice that. You hear something in full and then you play it.
That's really difficult. 3 or 4 notes for me it's easy, but to a long phrase, sing it and then play it, it's really difficult.
Yeah, it is. It takes practice.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to add on to that, so I listened to a bunch of your tutorials and such, both on Creative Strings and YouTube, and like the easier ones I can follow along with, like 2 or 3 phrases, like like da 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 da. but I still basically bodge up the bloody note by like half a tone or something. But then when it starts getting to more complexes, like going up and down, I start getting more lost, and it's still better now than I was a year ago. But like, it's still one of those things of just trying to figure out better ways of incorporating it. And like, sometimes you just feel like it hit a block, you know? Like, do you have any advice on like, you know, where like you hear it in your head and you try to play on a violin, and what comes out of the violin is different than when your head, it's like doing the rub the belly, tap the head type of thing.
Yeah, so there's two things in that. Number one, I would say, practice singing and playing back. You know, so it's like if I play a note and I know that's A, then I think, okay, A, B, you know, or you just hear something in your head, you know, da, do. But maybe you don't get it right every time. I mean, just practicing ear training, I think is good. The other thing I would say, though, is just practice scale patterns. You know, get really comfortable with the major scale. Because again, I think we tend to think that we know the major scale, but maybe we don't. Like we can always know it better. So if you practice scale patterns like I talk about in here, just simple sequences throughout the scale, I think that's really useful. Use the extended range scale worksheet. I would use that. Keep coming to class. I have created this to be a group offering that can be very accessible and affordable and full of value for people. There always is value in having private coaching. There are some limits to how much personalization can be provided through this group class. Although during 10 months of the year, during the Creative Strings Academy, I'm committed to offering office hours, which are when you can have one-to-one coaching. So you can take advantage of that. Number two, in the Facebook group, you can get asynchronous review. So for these types of questions, it's always better when there's a specific example that I can review or somebody else can review. So Jason, if you made a video of that problem you just described, then I could understand it better. And same thing with Anna. If you show me a specific thing, then I could say, oh, try this now. And then you could try that and share that with me. And I'd say, oh, we'll try it this way. If we talk about it in the abstract, it's a little harder to move forward, I find. So that's an idea. Share specific examples of your work, share them in the Facebook group, or come to office hours, which the next one will probably be in February because I'm focused on this Accelerator program in December and January. So something's got to give.
I had a question about the first exercise we did.
Yeah.
The B minor 11.
Yeah.
Why did the 11 always seem like a great resting place to end a phrase on? I'm curious about that. It just always sounded good.
Probably because it was just part of the chord. Yeah. So look, if you have a note that's in a chord, then it always sounds good over the chord because it's congruent.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point is that on any chord, when you've got 12 notes that you can play over that chord, any chord, including B minor 11, right? So there's 12 notes that you can play over top of B minor 11, and each one of them has its own experience. And they each have a different experience. It's like if you have an omelet with paprika versus an omelet with garlic versus an omelet with pepper versus an omelet with turmeric. They each have their own thing. And so the more that you get to experience that, it's like you have this experience with the sound of the 11 on a B minor 11 chord, which is great. Cool. Anything else? All right. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up this chart. Everybody should have the chart. I put it in the chat for Brejeiro. Now you have chord stacks. I'm not going to give you the chord stack on my screen, but you're going to want it. So if you have it printed out, then that's recommended. But I just have the chart here. Let's see here. Let's talk about the progression here. The G to D7, that's all I'm doing. So first of all, you can just play G, G, D, D, G, G, D, D, or you can play G down a fifth, or sorry, G to the fifth, D to the fifth. So let's try it. Short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. So this part is typically played on a mandolin. I'm talking about the inner voices, right? So, and I just went to a choro jam, thanks Jeannie. So I just learned this the other day, that in a traditional choro, that it's like one, one, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So that's what I'm doing. And you can do it with the bow if you want. So again, the thing we did in the beginning was we were playing G major 6 to D7. We were trying to play the voice leading. So I'm kind of voice leading there. You can try that if you want for a second. 1, 2, ready, go. I just put the music in the chat again. Cool. So I put the stacks here on my screen for now. It's not the best way to do it, but I've got it all here for you if you want to see it. So if we look at the voice leading, then the top 3 voices here, G, the top 3 voices here, D7, then we go down. So if I'm just playing from the violin staff going down, and then I'd play. Then I go to the next voice at the top of the violin, and then D7. It's a visual thing, right? Then the next part right here at bar 13, let's just listen to what that sounds like. B7, E minor, A7, D7, G, C, A7, D, deep. Okay, so let's just play the bass line. So we'll play B, B, E, E, A, D, B, G, G, C, A, D, D, bubble puppet again. B, B, E, E, A, D. Bubble puppet again. Bubble puppy. Okay, so then for the inner voices, if I sing the bass line, so on the dominant chords on bar 13, you can play third and seventh. Wherever you have a seventh chord, you can play your third and seventh. But wherever you have, like it says E minor, then you can play, you can just play a triad or you can add a six. But if I arpeggiate those chords, all I did was arpeggiate every chord. Now, but that's moving fast, so it's going to take some time, right? So let's look at each one of these slowly. So let me find a new loop so I can create this for us. 73C. So we're going to do B7 to E minor. So you should hopefully have your stacks somewhere where you have B7 that goes to E minor. And for the fancy people, you can put a flat 9 on the B7, so that's a C. So it looks like diminished, right? You can even play after me if you want. Minor, 5, 1 minor. Let's go to the next chords now. So what you're going to notice is that I'm always breaking it into pairs. It's a pair of chords, right? We just practice going between two chords. Now we're going to do the next two chords, which is A7 to D. So again, what did I say on the dominant seventh? You can always just play third and seventh. So A7, third and seventh, D7. Bass line. A, D, A7, A7, D7. So play after me. So this is A7 starting on A. D7 starting on A. A7 starting on C sharp. D7 starting on C. A7 starting on E. D7. A7. D7. So that can be memorized. But it might be hard to do. You want to make sure you have each of the separate chords really well known. So A7, D7. But anyway, just work on that. You got your chord stack. That should help. Ready, go. A7, D7. Next two chords, G to C. And then we'll put it all together. G, C. G, C. Can treat the G as a 7 if you want, G7 to C6. Now let's put it all together. Slow tempo di lerno. Right, so I'm going to do slow tempo over this from bar 13 through the end of the A section. So we have B, E minor, A7, D7, G, C, A7, D7. Bass line. If you want to remember the progression, then play the bass line. If you want to learn the progression, play the inner voices. If I just voice lead from the top line, from the bottom, all right, let's take it at tempo. You have the option, you can play the bass line, or you can play the inner voices, or you can play the arpeggios, or you can even play the melody. Let's see what's at. Actually, a fun thing you can do with this melody is play it with the bowing that we started the classes out. Watch. So if you watch my bow, it's going like this. In fact, I'll spotlight myself here for a second. I'm a little bit shy, so I don't usually spotlight myself. Oh, did that work? No, it didn't even work. I can't even spotlight. So I'm going down, up. Wait. Yeah, so I'm going. You can play it like that. And going on. So if you want, you can play the bass line behind. I'll just do a little bit of a solo where you can hear where I'm basically just arpeggiating. You got it. Bar 13. One more time. Ba-ba-ba-beep-bong. All right, that's it. That's the foot. Cool. Okay, that concludes the play along portion of our class and also concludes the first 5 class cycle of Accelerator, which will resume again January 2nd through the 17th. But in the meanwhile, you will have bonus classes, including with Madeline, who was here today. She's still here somewhere. Madeline's going to do a great class on Monday night at 7 p.m. Look, so for everybody, just to reiterate, yeah, Madeline's doing a class Monday at 7 p.m. I know that's not good for Europe, but it's good for Australia and Asia. None of them who are here right now because it's 3 a.m. in Australia. But we do mix it up in the academy. Every month, I try to have a rotation between evening and morning times, weekend, daytimes, to make it possible for everybody around the entire world to access some of the classes. So that's an ongoing thing that we do. This whole cycle we did at 10 in the morning so that people in Europe could get it and whatever. Monday, Madeline's doing a class. It's going to be great. It's a very gentle class. It's good for body awareness, stretching, and a lot of other things. Mindfulness, good for technical drills and stuff. It's very gentle. The whole class is extremely gentle. She's amazing. She's also a healer. She does like medical qigong and she does Reiki and stuff like that. I don't want to speak for her. But that's going to be on Monday. That's a bonus class for anybody that's in Accelerator that's not a part of the Academy. Of course, I invite you to join the Academy because this is year-round. Then you can experience the year-round benefits that you get. Then Victoria Ye is going to do a class on the 27th. That's another bonus class for you. And then we've got another cycle of 5 classes starting January 2nd, going through the 17th. It's something like Thursdays and Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, that stuff. And if you have questions about like how to join the academy or whatever, like just, send me an email. Also, we have our events, our live events, which are going to happen in Switzerland and in Asheville in the USA. Now's a good time to plan for those. So in May, the last weekend in May, we'll be in Switzerland for 4 days. And then in the last week of June and the first week of July, we have 2 camps in Asheville, North Carolina, right here near where I live, in the beautiful mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains. So those are big experiences. You're definitely invited to come. We have people here that have been there already, and it's a blast. I think that's all my sales pitching and announcements. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Not a question, Chris, just a comment. I'm glad that my schedule opened up so that I could join you for these 5 sessions. It has just opened up a world. So thank you to Belinda, because she added me as the +1, and I've enjoyed what you've done. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have a lot of other things going when your other class times are. So we'll figure out what happens. Thank you very much, though.
Thank you. Yeah, every month there should be classes that are available for people to come live, one-to-ones, Facebook group, asynchronous, multiple teachers, guest teachers, not just me, people like Madeline. We even do emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping, which hopefully actually Suzanne, who was here today, I don't know if she still is. Yeah, she is, Suzanne. So we're trying to get, she's I don't know what the right words are, but she's like certified as like a counselor, psychologist. Do you want to talk about it actually, Suzanne, about EFT and what you're going to do? We're trying to find a schedule for her to come in. You want to talk about it briefly?
Sure. Thank you so much. Unexpected. Yeah, all the things that are a little bit of a struggle when through all of this, as much as we love it, EFT tapping, which is tapping on different acupressure points on the body, has been shown and proven to be very effective in getting rid of the emotional blocks that prevent us from enjoying our practice and going forward in comfort and joy. So I'm a licensed therapist in California, but EFT tapping coach anywhere. I find it so effective. It's easy to learn. It's easy to do. You'll have it forever. And it will be a total pleasure to share that with any details that come up when we're doing it. Thank you so much, Chris, for the opportunity to share it.
No, thank you. And what I love about this is that Suzanne, joined this program because she wanted to pursue her love of music, and then she saw that we were doing EFT with Evan Greger, who's a friend of mine. He's done it, and she was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm an EFT, practitioner." And I was like, "Wow, well, that would be great," because I think one of the things I try to stress in the class at various times is like we're all growing, we're all on a growth path, in different ways. Somebody can be an expert, quote unquote expert at something, but they can still have other areas that they want to grow in. We can all benefit from emotional freedom. and if not, and if people in here, are already emotionally free, if you're completely emotionally free, then great. Then you can take advantage of other things like, triple stops in 7th position or whatever it might be. But I'm excited I'm particularly excited for Suzanne to be able to come and share, because she has expressed that, I don't know the right way to say it, but it's like, is it fair to say that, tell me about remind me about your background with the violin. Did you play when you were a child and then you took a break, or what?
I played as a child and took decades of a break. Yeah, and just starting again with a lot of holes in there and a lot of limiting beliefs that I thought I couldn't get beyond. And now through you, Chris, I know there's a roadway, a pathway to get there. A lot of slow work. I loved what you said, Chris, because it relates to how I'm dealing with learning chords, for example. It's like learning how to read. You spell out, you sound out each letter slowly, and then you slowly put the word together so you could say a word. It's very humbling to be such a beginner when, as I'm sure all of you are understanding, and wherever it is, you're an expert somewhere in your life, a huge expert in your life. And here we're reaching some edge, all of us a different edge. But the ability to know, I love knowing that there is a way to get to where I want to go, and it's very liberating. And the tapping helps get rid of any extraneous kind of stressors or these thoughts that we have in our head that make the maybe even tedious part of learning these new things, learning new patterns, to not be a problem. We just do it. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, because that's I guess what I wanted to highlight for people is that this idea, and I might be making this up, but the idea that, like, okay, so you've had a break from the violin for decades, and so you're coming into this and you're feeling like a novice. You know, you are in some ways a novice at many of these new ideas, but you're a certified therapist, right? And so people, you know, somebody like me who's not a therapist thinks, oh, but she's like, she's got her stuff so together that this won't be a problem. She's just going to have fun. But were there emotionally confronting things that have occurred for you in the process or not? That was one of the things I wanted. Because I think yes, the answer is yes, right? And so
yes.
Even therapists have emotionally confronting things, you know. It's like, because I think, oh, she's a therapist. Well, she's got it all figured out. So would you be willing to talk a little bit about that, like the psychological component of you venturing into this new process as a learner of music, and how you because you're able to see it, I guess, from a bird's eye view. You're like, oh, I'm making favorable comparisons, or now I'm procrastinating, or now my inner critic is speaking really loudly right now, or I don't know. Would you be able to say anything about that?
Yeah, all of those things. And even deeper personally was I just couldn't get beyond to play what I really wanted to play, what was really in my soul. And I had just stopped there, not thinking that was possible to change. And the liberation of, I actually had heard Evan do his tapping and heard him say, you know, we have traumas as musicians. What your teacher told you, not getting in to be a music major when I really wanted to be. And so I thought, I just can't do this. I'm just not good enough, as a solid core foundational belief. And I tried all sorts of ways to get beyond that. Would get excited a little bit and then it would just fade away. But this opening and using the EFT tapping to say that was just a thought, a belief. I just had a different path. I am my own musicianship, and I can learn things as a baby. And let go of the self-judgment and the legitimate judgment. But it's not stopping me from having pleasure of learning this stuff. And I'm doing bass line right here. So literally. And so I think all of you are probably so far more advanced than me as a musician, but the joy, the connection, what you're saying, Chris, of where the music comes from and how it's expressed is that's endless and boundless. And I know we could all tap into that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. This was totally unexpected. You draw out the deepest parts. So, wow to you. And here we are. It's lovely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to scheduling that with Suzanne to lead a tapping, and it's a guided meditation. Just so everybody understands, it's a guided meditation where she will say words, and you'll say the words back. You'll be muted, but you can tap on the pressure points if you want. And it's again, I would say in my own words, which Suzanne clearly has more expert words about this than I do, just to be 1,000% clear, But to me, this is it's part of our practice is growing, but part of it is enjoying. And we have to, ultimately, I feel that a practice, any expansive practice, is a vehicle for loving yourself, for accepting yourself, for being enough for yourself, for forgiving yourself. And just to be clear, we're all on the same path, And some people, maybe you struggle more with growth, and maybe some people you struggle more with self-acceptance. But they're at least equally important, in my opinion. And the self-acceptance part is even more important. And I've won all the awards. I've made 19 records. I've done everything. You may not even know that about me, but I have done all the things. I've climbed the mountains of the music industry. But I know that I beat myself up for decades. And that's why this is important to me. It's not, how you feel about yourself has nothing to do with how skilled you are. So we have to work on both of those things. It's really important to me. And by the way, I get to continue that practice as a teacher. So when I'm here teaching, all those same self-judgments are coming from me as a teacher. And maybe for Suzanne, that happens as a therapist as well as it does as a musician. As she's a therapist, she's bringing all this, whatever, she wants to do well for her students or her clients, whatever. All right. Is there any other questions about today or comments?
I have a question.
Hi, Danny. Yeah.
Hi, good to see you. I just want to start by saying that Suzanne, that was really awesome. I'm really excited to delve into more about what you've been talking about. That's really cool. So Chris, my question for you, when you were talking about the bluegrass scale, can we talk a little bit more about some applications for that? Would it be just over anything in a major key, or is it specifically for tunes like Old Joe Clark, where you're more modal?
Yeah, so that was over a dominant seventh chord. So any song that has that's pedaling, and you could call that more modal, like where you're sitting in one tonality for a while, which is what that was. Some tunes that are good for that are there's a bluegrass tune where it goes from 1 to the flat 7, Yeah,
I think Old Joe Clark does that from the A major to the G, right?
Well, basically, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes.
One more question about that. So is the bluegrass scale the same thing as the minor pentatonic with a major third?
Oh, yes. Wait. Yes. I didn't even put that together, but you're absolutely right. Yes.
So that'll help me take it with me more. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the minor pentatonic without the flat 3, without the minor. Yeah. It's 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. Yeah.
Thank you, Art.
Awesome.
There's a video that I did on YouTube with Justin Branham, who's a great bluegrass player in Nashville, and it's called, if you look up my name and his name and Magic Bluegrass Scale, we did it and we applied it to a tune. He talks about it there too. So if you want to check that out, you can.
I'll definitely check that out. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, not to. So I was talking in the side thing with Art, and he made a really good analogy of music being a language. And I don't know if anybody has tried learning a language. I tried learning French on Babbel, and even to the point where you start getting basic vocabulary, it's very different than actually being able to speak it. Do you have any sort of thoughts on, once again, music as a language? At this point, I've been with you guys for about a year, and what you say makes sense. But what Danny just said, shifting one scale to another, you understand it, but you don't. You understand the words, but you don't comprehend the entire meaning. You know. Do you have any thoughts on basically improving one's musical literacy?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I think that's true. I just want to reflect back to you, Jason. That's also true for a lot of like, quote unquote, elite classical musicians who started playing when they were 4 years old. You know, people like maybe Elaine, for example. I'm just taking a wild guess that she started. Oh, or Belinda, or, there's people here that started when they were, maybe 5 years old. Like I started when I was 5 years old and then, just kept training and training and training. And then, and so, but a lot of those classical musicians, they'll even study music theory in college, but then they still can't, quote unquote, like apply what they learned in the same way that you're talking about. So I just want to say it's not only specific to you, Jason, it's something that a lot of us share. And so becoming more literate and I call it functional. A lot of classical players are functional in classical music, so they can read in an orchestra. And a lot of, let's say, people like maybe Art, who played a lot of bluegrass, maybe they were functional in the sense that they could play fiddle melodies, but they weren't functional in terms of able to make solos or accompany or whatever. So to me, in short, the answer is break it down and take your time and give yourself time. So it's like we talk about learning each chord today. I was like, that G chord is going to take a while. And then you put the G and the D next to each other and it's going to take a while. So that would be my simplest answer. The right exercises will build that functionality and that deeper knowledge in the same way that if you practice language slowly, consistently, I believe you'll integrate it. Anybody else? Questions? Comments?
I wrote when we started playing instruments, but really I think the thing is that I've just never stopped playing. I've been a cellist and somebody called it a hobby the other day and I went, no, I'm a musician. It's a difference. It's different. I do not consider playing music a hobby at all. It's me. I'm a musician. So I throw that out there.
I love that. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for showing up. Great job. See you soon.